He sat. His aides remained standing by the wall. Hannah picked up the sheet. The text shifted as she looked at it, rearranging itself into clean English. There were sections for atmosphere, gravity, food allergies, and common diseases. She read each one carefully. Most of the answers would be simple. Earth's air was breathable for many species. The gravity was average for a rocky world, and humans had a known list of pathogens. How many lines will you need? Section 1, Predators. She underlined it twice. Then she paused, pen hovering over the paper, because she did not know where to begin. The bears? The big cats? The crocodiles? The sharks? She had a sudden image of every documentary she had ever watched playing at once in her head. A great parade of teeth and claws and tails and fins, all of them sharing her planet. She looked up at Tilo. "This is going to take a while," she said. "Would you like some water? It might be a long afternoon." Tilo nodded slowly. One of his aides stepped forward with a small flask. Hannah lowered her eyes to the page and began to write. Great white shark, bull shark, tiger shark, hammerhead, mako shark, saltwater crocodile, which lives in salt water and fresh water and sometimes walks across roads. Nile crocodile, American alligator, caiman, orca, also called killer whale, which works in groups and is smarter than most things in the ocean. Barracuda, moray eel, giant squid, though those mostly stayed deep. Tilo's flask was empty. The aide refilled it without being asked. "Doctor," Tilo said again. He spoke very carefully. "How does a human swim in your oceans?" "Most of us swim near the shore," Hannah said. "Children wear floaties. Adults watch for fins. Some places have nets. Most beaches are safe most of the time. Some are not. We post signs." "You post signs?" "Yes. They say things like, 'Beware of sharks,' or 'Crocodile crossing,' or sometimes just, 'Do not enter the water.'" Tilo looked at his aide. His aide looked back. Neither said anything. Hannah turned to a third page. Land animals that are not predators, but will still hurt you. This one was important. People always forgot this category. Cape buffalo, which had killed more African hunters than lions ever had. Hippopotamus, which weighed more than a car and could outrun any human. Elephant, which was usually peaceful but devastating when angry. Moose, especially in autumn, when the males went mad with hormones and charged trucks. Bison, wild boar. Rhinoceros, stag during rutting season. Cassowary, a flightless bird in Australia with claws that could open a person. "Wait," Tilo said. His translator slowed. "A bird." "Yes. A bird that can kill a human." "Yes. They kick. The middle claw is very long and very sharp. They live in rainforests. Tourists are warned to stay in their cars." Tilo set his flask down too hard. A drop of green liquid splashed onto the table. He did not seem to notice. "Dr. Ortiz," he said, "are these animals extinct? Are you reading from a historical record?" Hannah put the pen down. She folded her hands. "No," she said softly. "They are all alive. Right now. On this planet. They share it with us. There are about 8 billion of us, and there are millions of them, and we live alongside each other every day." "How?" Tilo said. The translator made the words small and careful. "How do you survive?" Hannah thought about the question. "Most people drive past them on the way to work," she said. "Most people will never see one outside a zoo or a documentary. The animals stay in their places, mostly, and we stay in ours, mostly. Sometimes the lines blur. A bear comes into a yard. A shark swims into a swimming area. A moose walks down a highway. Then we are careful. We have rangers. We have warnings. We have rules. We teach children what to do." "And the children?" Tilo asked. "They visit them in cages?" "In zoos," Hannah corrected gently. "The animals have habitats. Glass walls. Big spaces. The children press their faces to the glass and learn the names. They take photos. They eat ice cream. Then they go home and read books about the animals in their beds at night." Tilo's crystal eyes had dimmed. The rainbows on the wall behind him faded. He stared at her for a long moment. "Your children," he said slowly, "look at apex predators for entertainment." "Yes." "And then sleep peacefully." "Yes." He picked up the flask. He drank the rest of the green liquid in one long swallow. He set the empty flask down with great care. "Doctor," he said, "what is in the next section?" Hannah turned the page. She wrote a new heading at the top. "Weather." Tilo closed his eyes. "Yes." "Heat wave." "The opposite." Temperatures rise high enough to cook the elderly in their apartments. Streets become hot enough to burn bare feet. People with no air conditioning sometimes do not survive. Cities open cooling centers. Neighbors check on each other. Wildfire. Forests burn. Sometimes the fires move faster than a person can run. Smoke fills the sky for hundreds of miles. People are evacuated, sometimes losing everything. Then they return and rebuild on the same land. Tilo watched her write, his crystal eyes following the pen. Why do they return? Hannah paused. She thought about her grandmother, who had lost a house to a wildfire and rebuilt it twice on the same hillside. Because it is home, she said simply, and because the land is good when it grows back. She kept writing. Flood. Rivers swell, dams break, oceans rise. Whole towns go underwater. People row boats down their own streets. Sometimes the water carries away cars, livestock, houses. People wait on rooftops for rescue. Drought. The opposite again. Crops die. Wells run dry. Lakes shrink to mud. Whole regions can become deserts. Dust storm. A wall of dirt taller than a building, moving across the land at highway speeds. It can choke engines, blind drivers, and bury cars. People learn to pull over and wait. Sandstorm. Like a dust storm but worse, common in deserts. The sand can strip paint off vehicles. Hailstorm. Ice falls from the sky in chunks. Some hailstones are the size of fists. They break windshields, kill livestock, and dent roofs. People run inside and watch the ice destroy their cars from behind glass, sometimes laughing nervously, sometimes filming it for the internet. Tilo lifted his hand. Stop, he said. Please. One question. Hannah set the pen down. Why do humans stay where these things happen? Hannah smiled for the first time that day. It was a small, tired smile. Because every place has something. There is no safe place on this planet. The dry places have fires and dust. The wet places have floods and storms. The cold places have blizzards. The warm places have hurricanes. The mountains have avalanches. The flatlands have tornadoes. We picked our regions a long time ago, and we built our lives on them, and we are not leaving. But surely some places are safer than others. Some are. People still do not leave the dangerous ones. Sometimes they choose them on purpose. Some people chase tornadoes for fun. They drive toward them with cameras. We call them storm chasers. Some sail their boats into hurricanes to study them. Some climb mountains where the air is too thin to breathe, and they have to carry oxygen tanks on their backs. On purpose. Yes. Tilo looked at the window. The rain had begun, hard and heavy. Lightning flashed again, closer this time. Thunder rolled through the building so deeply that the water glasses on the table rattled. He picked up his flask. It was still empty. He set it down again. Dr. Ortiz, he said, I think I would like more water now. The aide moved to refill it. Hannah waited politely until the flask was full. Then she turned to a new page in the notebook. She wrote the next heading. Volcanoes. Tilo closed his eyes again, but this time he did not look away. Mosquito. A tiny flying insect that drinks blood. It has killed more humans throughout history than every war combined. It carries malaria, dengue fever, yellow fever, Zika, and a dozen other diseases. There are billions of them. They breed in any standing water. People use sprays, nets, and screens. Even so, around 600,000 humans die from mosquito bites every year. Tilo's flask paused halfway to his mouth. From an insect? From an insect? How big is this insect? Hannah held up her thumb and forefinger, almost touching, smaller than a grain of rice. Tilo set the flask down without drinking. She kept writing. Tick. A small bug that buries its head in your skin and drinks your blood for days. It carries a disease called Lyme that can cripple a person for life if not caught early. People check their bodies after walking in tall grass. Flea, even smaller, carried plague through cities in the past and killed almost half of an entire continent of humans in 1 century. Tsetse fly, found in Africa, causes sleeping sickness, which sounds peaceful but is not. Without treatment, the brain swells and the person dies. Sandfly causes a disease that leaves open sores that do not heal. Kissing bug. Despite the name, it bites the face at night and leaves a parasite that slowly damages the heart over decades. Tilo lifted a hand. These all live on your planet. Right now. Yes. In different regions. People sleep under nets. We spray. We have medicines. We try. She turned to a new subheading. Diseases. She paused, then wrote a small note next to it. Without insects. Cholera. Spread through water. Empties the body until the person dies of thirst within a day. Tuberculosis. A lung infection that has killed humans for thousands of years. Still kills millions. Influenza. Comes back every year in a new form. We line up to take shots against it. Sometimes the shots work. Sometimes they do not. Common cold. Annoying, not usually deadly, but everyone gets it many times in their life. Rabies. Caught from animal bites. Once symptoms begin, it is almost always fatal. We vaccinate dogs and cats. We treat people fast. Tetanus. Caught from rusty metal. The body's own muscles lock up so tightly that the person can break their own spine. Tilo had stopped drinking entirely. His flask sat untouched. Hannah flipped to a new subheading. Venomous creatures. Cone snail. A pretty shell that lives in tropical oceans. Tourists pick them up because they look like jewelry. The snail fires a tiny dart filled with enough venom to kill 20 humans. There is no antivenom for some species. Box jellyfish. A clear, almost invisible jellyfish in Australian waters. The pain alone has caused humans to drown before they could reach shore. Blue-ringed octopus. The size of a golf ball. Lives in tide pools. Tourists pick them up because the blue rings are pretty. The bite is painless. The person stops breathing within an hour. Inland taipan. A snake in Australia. One bite contains enough venom to kill 100 adults. It lives in remote areas. Most humans never see one. Funnel web spider. Also Australia. Aggressive. Bites through fingernails. Brazilian wandering spider. Walks into homes at night. Bites are extremely painful. Stonefish. Looks like a rock on the ocean floor. People step on it. The pain has been described as the worst pain a human can feel. Tilo lifted his hand again. Doctor. She paused. Why does so much of your planet look harmless and turn out to be lethal? Hannah thought about it. Because evolution is patient, she said. Things that look scary make us run. Things that look small or pretty make us pick them up. The dangerous ones that hide get to keep their venom for the next generation. So they keep hiding. She turned the page once more. Plants. Many flowers contain poisons. Oleander, foxglove, lily of the valley, hemlock, deadly nightshade. Some plants burn the skin on contact. Giant hogweed leaves blisters that scar for years. Manchineal, a tree in the Caribbean, has sap that can blind a person and fruit that can kill. Tourists are warned not to stand under it during rain. Mushrooms. Some look exactly like edible ones. The death cap mushroom kills slowly, over a week. The person feels fine for 2 days, then their liver stops working. Tilo did not speak this time. He simply nodded for her to continue. Hannah set the pen down for a moment and rolled her wrist. Her hand ached. She looked at him gently. Ambassador, do you need a break? Tilo opened his eyes. They had dimmed again, but there was something new in them now. Not horror. Something else. Something thoughtful. No, doctor, he said. Please go on. I want to understand. Hannah picked up the pen. There is more, she said softly. I assumed. Tilo watched her write. His flask was empty again. He did not refill it. Hannah turned to a new subheading. Places that kill you just by existing. She wrote slowly now. Her hand was tired, but her mind kept going. The deep ocean. Below a certain depth, water pressure crushes anything not built to resist it. Submarines have imploded. Humans have died trying to reach the bottom of trenches. High mountains. Above a certain altitude, the air is too thin to keep a human alive. The body begins to fail. Climbers carry tanks of oxygen. Some still die. Their bodies remain on the mountain because no one can carry them down. Polar regions. Cold beyond what most bodies can handle. Wind that strips heat in seconds. Explorers freeze inside their tents. Yet there are research stations there. People volunteer to spend the winter alone in them. Deserts. Sand that reaches temperatures hot enough to cook eggs. Heat that kills travelers within hours if they run out of water. People still cross them. Radiation zones. Places where humans built reactors and made mistakes. The land remains unsafe for thousands of years. Animals have returned to some of them. Humans visit briefly, in suits, to study what nature is doing. Tilo lifted his hand softly. Doctor. She paused. You have one more section, he said. I can see it in your face. Hannah nodded. She turned to a fresh page. She did not write a heading at the top. She simply wrote the first word. Humans. She set the pen down for a moment. This is the last one, she said quietly. Tilo waited. Other humans, she said, are also a hazard. We have written down our wars. We have weapons that can level cities. We have weapons made from things we found in the ground and weapons made from things we built in laboratories. We have small weapons that fit in pockets and large weapons that take whole crews to operate. We have killed each other for land, for food, for ideas, and sometimes for nothing at all. Any human, pushed far enough, can become dangerous. She closed the notebook gently. She slid it across the table. Tilo looked at it for a long time before he touched it. When he did, he opened it from the back and slowly flipped forward, page by page. He read silently. The aides at the wall did not move. The room was quiet except for the soft sound of paper turning. When he reached the front, he closed the notebook. He set both his hands flat on top of it. Dr. Ortiz, he said, I have a question. Yes. How many humans die each year? From all of these things combined. Henna had thought about this number on her drive to the embassy that morning. She had looked it up the night before, just in case. About 60 million, she said. From all causes. Disease, accidents, weather, age, everything. Tilo's crystal eyes flickered. Out of how many? 8 billion. He was quiet for a long moment. His feathers shifted slowly, the silver tips lying flat again. That is a small number, he said finally. It is. Why is it small? Henna looked down at her hands. Because we take care of each other, she said. We build hospitals. We write warnings. We make rules. We share what we learn. When a hurricane is coming, neighbors knock on neighbors' doors. When a stranger collapses on the street, someone runs over. When a forest fire takes a town, other towns send food and clothes. When a child gets sick in a poor village, sometimes a doctor flies there from the other side of the world. We made the planet livable by helping each other live on it. She lifted her eyes. The threats are only half the story, Ambassador. The other half is what we did about them. Tilo did not speak. He looked at the closed notebook under his hands. He looked at the dark window. He looked at his aides, who had come closer without meaning to. He looked at Hannah. I need to return to my ship, he said softly. I need to send a report. Hannah nodded. Of course. He stood. The notebook stayed on the table. He pushed it carefully back toward her with one finger. This is yours, Doctor. Keep it. He paused at the door. Thank you, he said. Then he was gone. The Galactic Concord Council chamber was a vast circle of curved benches, each one shaped to fit a different species. Some seats were made for tall, feathered diplomats. Some were low pools of warm liquid for aquatic members. Some were simple stone shelves for species that did not sit at all. The room smelled faintly of every world represented, a strange mix of pollens and salt and faint smoke. At the center, a small holographic projector hovered above a black plinth. Tilo stood beside the plinth. His feathers were freshly cleaned, but still slightly flat. He had not slept much. The council had reviewed his report 3 times. The first time, they had assumed there was a translation error. They sent the document back to be checked. The translators confirmed every word. The second time, they had assumed the human representative had exaggerated. They sent a second team to Earth to verify. That team had returned 11 days later, pale and silent. One of them had refused to leave the ship's cabin for 2 days. Their report matched Tilo's exactly. They added new sections. The Earth team had visited a place called a hospital and watched humans casually walking through rooms full of diseases. They had visited a place called a beach and watched children swimming in water that contained at least 3 species of shark within visible distance. They had visited a place called a farm and watched a small human child feeding a bull from her open palm. The second team had also added a final note at the bottom of their report. It read, "The humans seem unaware that any of this is unusual." The third time, the council read the report quietly. No one tried to find errors. They simply read. Then the debate began. Some members wanted to quarantine Earth permanently. They argued that any species capable of surviving such a planet must be too dangerous to allow into open space. Let them stay where they were. Build a wall of warning beacons around their system. Others argued the opposite. They said that any species that had survived such a planet by helping each other must be exactly the kind of species the Concord needed. The galaxy was full of fragile worlds and frightened species. Humans, they said, were not afraid of anything. Or rather, they were afraid of everything. and had simply learned to live with the fear. The debate lasted 9 days. On the 9th day, the council voted. Tilo waited beside the plinth as the vote was tallied. His 3 fingers tapped against his thigh. He had been called back to deliver the council's decision personally to Earth. He did not yet know what the decision would be. The senior counselor, a tall being made of soft folded skin and wide blue eyes, rose slowly from her seat. She read from a long sheet of glowing text. "The council has voted," she said. "Earth shall be welcomed into the Galactic Concord. Earth shall be granted a special designation, the first of its kind. Every adult citizen of Earth shall be considered, by default, a survivor of conditions that would erase most known species. Earth shall be invited to share its knowledge of survival with member worlds in a teaching program of its own design. The Council requests, with humility, that humans be willing to instruct other species in the practical art of staying alive." She paused. "Ambassador Tilo," she said, "you will return to Earth and deliver this decision." Tilo bowed deeply. "It is my honor." He left the chamber that same hour. 3 days later, his ship landed in the same field outside the same embassy. He walked the same hallway, past the same spot where the janitor had dropped his bucket weeks before. The bucket was gone now. Someone had cleaned the carpet. He entered the conference room. Hannah Ortiz was already there, sitting at the same table. The thick notebook lay closed in front of her. She had a fresh, empty notebook beside it. She looked up when he came in. She smiled, small and tired and warm, the way she had smiled at the janitor. "Welcome back, Ambassador." Tilo sat. His aides remained outside this time. He set a single rolled scroll on the table between them. The scroll glowed faintly along its edges. "Dr. Ortiz," he said, "the Concord has voted. Earth is welcome." Hannah let out a small breath. She had not realized she was holding it. "Thank you. There is a request." "I assumed there would be." Tilo placed his 3-fingered hand gently on top of the scroll. "The council asks if humans would be willing to teach others. Not all of your knowledge. Just the part about how you stay alive when so much wants to end you. The part about hospitals and warnings and neighbors. The part about rebuilding after the storm. The part about checking on the elderly. The part about the rangers and the rules and the children pressing their faces to glass to learn the names of predators." He paused. "The galaxy is full of frightened species, Doctor. We have built our worlds away from danger. We have not learned what your kind has learned. We do not know how to live with what cannot be removed." Hannah looked down at the new notebook. Her own reflection sat faintly on its glossy cover. "That is a long lesson, Ambassador. We have time." She smiled again, larger this time. She picked up her pen. She opened the new notebook to the first blank page. She wrote at the top, in clear, careful letters, "Lesson 1." She underlined it once. Then she lifted her eyes. "Sit down, Ambassador," she said gently. "Let me start at the beginning." Tilo sat. Outside the window, the sun was setting. A new storm was rolling in from the west. Lightning flickered far away over the ocean. Somewhere in the city, sirens began their slow evening test, rising and falling in a long, warm hum. Hannah picked up her pen. She began to teach.